All right, good morning. Welcome to the Neighborhood Nerds 2014 Tech Talks. This is the very first one since we've rebooted the whole series. What we did was back in, I guess a couple months ago, maybe May or June, we reached out to all of our clients, asked you what you wanted to learn about, what you wanted us to do better, and what you liked about what we did. Turns out everybody really pretty much liked what we did. So that feedback was very cool to see, but at the same time, we had a lot of suggestions on what sorts of topics we should go over. And so one of the more popular ones is computer basics. A lot of our clients really, the computer is kind of ominous. You really don't know what it is, what all the features are, what all the buttons are. And today, we probably won't get into much of it. We'll probably touch maybe 2% of what the computer really is today. But today is really computer basics. My name is Tommy Wynn, Senior Nerd here at Neighborhood Nerds. We're going to have Leonard Knight join us via Hangout, as well as Rich Monholland, one of our newest nerds, right over there. So basically, computer basics, there it is. This is going to be broadcasted live on Google Hangouts, and which can be viewed later on YouTube. We're on our website, innerd.com/tech talks. So there you go. So without further ado, let me go ahead and get started. Oh, check it out. There's Gizmo. So Gizmo's our mascot. He's one of our. The reason why we chose him, he's a platypus. Let me go over the story of Gizmo. I feel like that's a very important one if you've not heard it. Gizmo is a platypus. We chose him because, if you're not familiar with platypi, they do a little bit of everything. They're technically mammals that lay eggs. They live in water. They live in land. They do a little bit of everything. So do we. We don't just do computers. We don't just do phones or printers or Wi-Fi or internet or, we literally do everything. We take our clients from A to Z when it comes to technology. You lose your phone, who do you call? You call Neighborhood Nerds. Your phone's not working or your tablet's not working, your iPad's not working, you come to us. If you want to learn something new about your iPad, something new about your new computer, you come to Neighborhood Nerds. So that's why we chose Gizmo as our mascot, and I think he embodies what we represent pretty well. So here's kind of the timeline of today. So what we're going to go over. These tech talks, they're geared. The goal is to run between 30 minutes to 1 hour. We find that any longer than 1 hour, people just start to glaze over. So we try to keep it short and sweet. So today's talk probably won't last a whole hour. We've got about 13, 14 slides to go over, and I handed out notes to everybody so you can follow along with me. So I think that'll help. That was a suggestion from one of our clients. We love hearing from you all, and what suggestion was if you could print off handouts that we can follow along with the presenter. We thought that was a fantastic idea. So there you have it. Well, hello there. Thank you. Have a seat. All right. Most of these tech talks, I'm just going to, this is kind of since this is our first one that we're rebooting, I'm just kind of introduce the tech talks in general. Basically, the goal is for our clients to come in and have coffee, have water, have snacks, and then enjoy and learn their technology. You have all these gadgets, you have all these toys. A lot of times you don't know what to do with them. Outside of the tech talks, though, we do offer one-to-one courses where you come in with us for 30 minutes to an hour at a time. Most of our clients know about that service and they love using that service. Some things that we do, we help you set up your email, we help you set up your e-card for emailing lists or setting up an online birthday card for somebody or doing their photos. Managing their music. All of these are courses that we do one-to-one. So if there's a topic that we don't go over into detail in a tech talk, you can always schedule one-to-one with a nerd. But today's kind of schedule looks like that. The introduction should last a few minutes. We're about to get started here. We're going to go into what a computer really is. You hear the word computer, and it's been around for a long time. And we'll go into kind of the history of the computer. We'll go into different types of computer. We can take a couple-minute break for coffee if we need to, and then I'll go into more history on the computer and then how you can get in touch with us afterwards. So there we go. Okay. So most of our tech talks, we like our clients to be able to bring your own technology. So if it's a talk about a computer, we'd like for you to be able to bring your own computer. If it's a talk about your iPhone, we'd like to be able to bring your iPhones and your iPads. This course, since it's such a basic course, you don't need any instruments. You just come, you can listen, you have your notes, take notes if you want to. If not, sit back and enjoy the show. But a little bit about us. We've been around since 2012. Leonard Knight, the founder, he goes to the church across the street. He's an entrepreneur by heart, but his passion is for helping people. In every one of his business ventures, he saw an opportunity where he could help somebody else out. And Neighborhood Nerds is exactly that. He saw people struggling setting their printers up, struggling setting up their new iPads, struggling setting up their computers, whatever it is. And he decided, I'm going to help people out. And so for a monthly fee, you get us, you get a whole team. You get me, you get Rich, you get Linda, and Mark as well. But we've been around, and our goal is we're focused on helping you do what you want to do. And that's part of the reasoning why we started these Tech Talks again, was for you to get all this information. So here is the introduction to what a computer really is. So computers do a whole lot of things. You know, they've really changed the world, how we operate. For example, I'm using a computer right now to show you this. But you know, you can use the computer to search things. You can, you know, get on the internet if you want to know a movie time. Boom, you have that. If you want to know what day somebody was born or a specific event in history, before computers, you know, before the modern day computer, anyways, you looked in encyclopedias, or you just didn't know, or you asked your teacher, your librarian, whoever it is. Computers have given you know, knowledge, and it's so accessible. You know, kids these days have their cell phones and their smartphones, and they have more knowledge in their hands than anyone has ever had in history. And that's powerful to me. And the more people who are comfortable and familiar with computers, I think that's the goal, to get everybody on the same page and knowing how to use this type of stuff. Commerce, obviously, that's a big thing. You know, Wall Street's changed, business has changed. The way we do business here, it's almost 100% computer-based. The only factor that's not computer-based is our clients. You know, we work with you directly, but everything else we do, our accounting, our payroll, our bank, I mean, everything is all on computers. And that's not just for us. I mean, every business these days is operating from computers. And if you're not, you're really at a disadvantage. There's a lot of fear in using, in using the cloud and using computers for business and computers for work and for school and for home use. There's a lot of fear, and I think the biggest part of that is the lack of knowledge, the lack of awareness that these tools are actually designed to help you do things better, not to scare you, not to stress you out. Unfortunately, as Rich can probably contend to, computers can be pretty stressful, and you know, things can happen that you're unaware of, that you don't know what's happening. You know, I run into those situations every day. But once you have the right person or the right team in your corner, computers are really awesome. In the cloud, I mentioned the cloud here. With the cloud, people can connect to one another better than before. I mentioned my wife is in Ireland. She's going to be there for 4 months. Without computers, we would be writing letters to each other, and hopefully they get there in time if there's a big event. Or a telephone call or something like that. With computers, I can actually see her, you know, on the computer screen. That to me is awesome. But that's kind of the introduction to what computing is, what computers are. So let me ask you this before I continue. Let me bring up the next slide here. So how do you use a computer? So these Tech Talks, they're designed for they're interactive. So it's not just me lecturing or me giving out information. We like to get feedback and hear from the client as well. So if anybody would like to volunteer, you know, how do you use a computer in a sentence or two?
All three of those ways.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Email, ordering stuff, that one.
Yeah.
Searching the web, communicating with my friends.
Awesome. And Bucks.
I like to scan, you know, like data and what have you. Instead of keeping a paper file, keep just an electronic file.
That's awesome.
Put it in a PDF.
Yeah. We do that here as well. Linda has a folder about this big once a week that she scans in all her documents. And so we love scanning things in and electronic copies are awesome. As long as you back that stuff up. That's another class. So, but yeah, everything that you mentioned, I have right here. So documents, email, and the web, right? Emails, publishing music, books, and art. That's changed everything. We helped a client about a month or two ago publish his own book. It's on Amazon. You can go buy it. That's awesome. Who does that? You can do that now. Everybody has that potential at their fingertips to do that. Musicians have changed. We all know about YouTube. We all hear about these artists who come from Canada or from someplace. No one knows of them, and then they put their videos and their music on YouTube, and they just blow up. Justin Bieber being an example. Not everybody's a Justin Bieber fan, but he embodies what YouTube can do, or what the internet has done, computing has done for people. He's just some kid in Canada. Now everybody knows his name, regardless of their opinions of him. That's amazing, And then of course, music, art, books, other things like that. And you mentioned there connecting with friends. Computers have helped us do that so much. Facebook, Twitter, social media, all that fun stuff. Skype, Google Hangouts. You can't do that. You couldn't do that 20 years ago. That's how far along computers have gone. And it's changing every time, all the time. Back in the 50s, computers were used primarily for scientific research. They were used primarily by scientists and doctors or PhD people who did specific things with a computer. And we're about to go into that history too. But the way we use computers, just like anything else, it changes. And it's dynamic, and that's why I love computers, because I love learning about what else I can do with this thing, And if I have an idea, and that's the thing about computers, if you have an idea, if you have something that you want to accomplish with the computer or with anything, you really can just do it, with the right knowledge and the know-how, you can actually get out there and do it. So my next question, obviously, is we've been talking about computers. So what is a computer, right? We know computers as desktops, right? We know them as laptops. I'm using one right now. I'm using a MacBook Pro. And believe it or not, tablets and smartphones are also computers. So if you look at the notes there, what is a computer? There's your first three answers right there. Desktops, laptops, tablets, and smartphones. So, that's amazing that we have this little device here in my hand. It's stronger than what they sent to the moon in the 70s. If you think about that, that's amazing. And what we do with these, we watch cat videos. No big deal. And I'm guilty. I watch a lot of cat videos. But it's amazing what you have at your fingertips that you don't know about, the potential there. And what constitutes this as a computer? So I guess I should define a computer more so than just giving you examples of what computers are. Computers is something that computes. Back in the day, in the 1800s, 1700s, and way before, a computer was actually a person who sat there and did algorithms and arithmetic, and they actually computed. And that's where the word computer comes from. It computes. And the central part of a computer, and this is an advanced course, this one we'll teach later that I'll go into, but the central processing unit, also known as CPU, that does all the work there. It does all the algorithms, all the arithmetic, because in the computer, all it is pluses and minuses, zeros and ones. And again, that's an advanced topic, but all of our devices that I mentioned here, they do those things. But now this might surprise you some more. I've got other devices that are also considered computers. TVs. These days, if you get a smart TV, I don't know if you've noticed, if you turn it on, it takes like 15, 20, 30 seconds to turn on all the way. It's a mini computer. Not mini, depending on what size TV you get, but it's a computer inside of it. So let me go back here. So let me click on one too many. There we go. Sorry about that. There we go. And one more. Okay, yeah, but these TVs, they take so long to turn because there is a computer inside of it that generates the picture, that has the apps. A lot of TVs these days, you can watch Netflix, Pandora, all these cool things that you can do straight from a TV. Then, of course, you have your game consoles, your Xboxes, your PlayStations, those things. They are computers. They are built exactly like a computer. It's just they're designed for gaming. And of course, other things you've got there are servers. That is, so when you hear the word server, that's kind of ominous as well. What is a server, really? A server, kind of like computer computes, a server serves. And what it serves is usually web pages. It usually serves emails. It serves some type of data. And that's what makes it a server. In reality, it's just a computer. It's just a box with a computer in it, and it's got hard drives, all that good stuff. But what's special about it, it's designed for a particular task, and that's serving files to the user. So you go to a website, like let's go to our website, innerd.com, for example. That's going to log up somewhere, some server in West Virginia or Virginia, and that file that you wanted to access puts on your computer, on your phone, or on your iPad. And that's what a server is.
It's like Yahoo server?
Yeah, Yahoo.com is a website, but it gets, wherever that website is located, that's the server. And now Yahoo, since it's so big, it's got multiple servers, probably hundreds. And they work together in what's called a distributed system, and they all work together. And that, again, that's an advanced topic that we'll go into one day, I'm sure. But yeah, these websites like Facebook, Google, Yahoo, they've got miles and miles of servers because they've got millions of users. You can't do that on one device. And it's amazing because someone came up with that idea. That's the thing about computers that always amazes me, is that someone out there came up with that idea. And it's mostly because they're trying to solve a problem that hasn't been solved before. So I'm just going to break it down from the different classes here. So we're going to go into desktop, what they are, what they do, why, what sort of people use desktops, that sort of thing. Most people these days, the laptop market has definitely overtaken the desktop model. But in business, it's still desktops are the way to go in business because you'll notice here, I don't know if you can see it well enough, but you get more bang for buck. What that means is you get more processing power, more memory, more RAM, more storage, all that good stuff for less price than you would a laptop, that sort of thing. And that's why desktops are good for some people. The concept is used for work, school, and home. Desktops usually sit on a desk, and that's where the name desktop comes from. It sits on top of a desk. So computer scientists or computer people, they think very simply. Computer computes, desktops sit on desks. And design, they either come in a tower, and we're all familiar with what the tower looks like. It's a case, usually about this tall. Some of them get really big, and some of them even bigger or smaller. And some of them are all-in-ones. This is an old 2004 iMac that I've got right here. It's a white, I think it's 2004, but there it is. It's all-in-one. Everything is built into it. But what separates that from a laptop, even though this is all-in-one, one, it doesn't have a battery supply, so it has to be plugged into the wall to run. And two, it's not designed to really move around. It's designed to sit on the desk. So that form factor is just convenient. It's just kind of nice. Okay, so that's kind of the overall of a desktop. Any questions there about what a desktop really is? Okay, all right, so the next thing we're going to talk about, makes sense, is the laptop. So we're going to let that load up here. And when you hear the term laptop or the notebook PC or anything like that, they are synonymous with each other. Laptop and notebook are the same thing, just so you know. So when you hear the term laptop or the term notebook, they're referring to the same entity. And for mine, so I'm using a MacBook right here, right? So MacBook is a brand of a laptop. So Apple likes to brand all of their products, Macintosh, Mac, makes sense, brand recognition, all that good stuff. So my Mac happens to be called a MacBook Pro, 13-inch Retina, but it's also known as a laptop or a notebook. Who uses these? These are convenient. They're great for students, kids who have to go to school, to classes. They're for people who want to move around. So salesmen or saleswomen or business people, it's very convenient. And a lot of businesses these days are only using laptops. They've moved all the way away from desktops. Here, for example, Rich uses a laptop. I use a laptop. Leo uses a laptop. And Linda even has a laptop that she uses as well. So we've pretty much moved away from desktops. And the primary reason for us as a business is the convenience. You can move it around. It's on battery power. Everything's built into one, that sort of thing. The design, I just mentioned there, has a built-in battery, a screen, a trackpad, and a keyboard. A trackpad behaves very much like a mouse. You move your fingers around, and you've got the cursor. So works that way. And then, of course, the apps. I didn't mention apps on desktop, but apps were previously known before Apple and before really smartphones and tablets. Apps were known as programs. Yeah, so programs are applications that run on the computer. And desktops and laptops, they're operating system dependent, so a Mac won't run Windows apps and vice versa. But there are ways to work around that, of course, but the desktops and laptops will run the same apps as long as you have the same operating system. Uh, End users, like I mentioned, traveling people, those types of people, students, even home users who don't need a huge monitor and desktop and all that good stuff. Now, what's nice about these is most of them are upgradable. So if you needed more storage space or more memory or that sort of thing, you can upgrade these. Most of them, a lot of them these days you can't. Like mine, whatever I got from Apple the day I bought it, that's it. I'm not going to be able to upgrade that. So that's one benefit that a desktop has that a laptop doesn't. Desktop, you can pretty much upgrade as much as you want, given this, if you're in the same generation, that sort of thing. Now, for 90%, 95% of all users, do you need to upgrade your stuff? Probably not. But it is a nice feature to have in a desktop and a laptop. So any questions about laptops?
There's things you can do on a desktop that you cannot do.
That is a great question. There are a few things that you can do better on a desktop. Now, I wouldn't say that you can't do. It's not black or white. There's a kind of a spectrum. So there are some things that a desktop is much better for. Let's say you're a gamer, right? You love video games. You love all the 3D effects and all the fancy stuff. A desktop is going to handle that much, much, much better than a laptop can. There are a couple of reasons. One, there's not a lot of space in a laptop, so you can't get a big, beefy graphics card. Two is heat. Doing graphics and video games, that generates a lot of heat. And these laptops don't have enough volume, surface area to release that heat. And so that's where desktops come in. Other reasons why you would use a desktop instead of a laptop is, let's say you are rendering some video. So you're editing some videos or things like of that nature for, for in a professional environment. A desktop, again, will have much better capabilities than a laptop. Now, could you do those on a laptop? Sure, you probably could. You won't have a very good experience, or it won't be as nice. Yes, so does that sort of answer your question there? Okay. Any other questions about laptops before we jump on to the next one? Okay, so the next one, as you might have guessed, is mobile devices. These include your smartphones and your tablets. Now, this is a question we get often. What's the difference between an iPad and a tablet? The right answer is an iPad is a tablet. Kind of like the MacBook is a laptop, the iPad is a tablet. It's a brand of tablets. In marketing, though, Apple has really done a great job, and we commend Apple for doing so, for really isolating their products from the rest of the field. So when you think of iPad, you think of iPad. When you think of tablet, you don't think iPad first. You think those other guys, from Android, from Microsoft. That's a tablet. But in reality, iPads are tablets as well. So that's just a little bit of tidbit there. Mobile devices, they're touchscreen, right? They're designed to use your fingers, all 10 of your fingers in some cases, and no keyboard. You don't need a keyboard. Now, some people prefer keyboards, so they have little keyboards that you can attach to your iPad or your tablet, and you can type away, but it's designed to work without a keyboard. Other things is the plethora of app choices. Oh my goodness, there's, what is it, 2 million, 2 billion, something ridiculous in the App Store now? Something really silly, but it's amazing out there because before, if you didn't have a tablet or a smartphone or any of those things, you had your computer, where else did you go for apps? You had to trust the webs, the Google, you had to trust Google. You search for something and it takes you to all these weird websites, all these fake download links, that sort of thing. Now, there's a designated place button on your phone or on your iPad that says App Store or Play Store. And from there, you download all those apps and you feel confident that those apps are not harmful. There are times where things get bad, but for the most part, you are pretty secure that this app is a good app and it's one that I can use. So the app choices is amazing. Convenient, you can use it anywhere, so you're not strapped to a desk or you're not stuck on a power charger, because most devices will last you 10, 12, 24, even more hours, depending on which device you get. And of course, unlock your computing, same type of thing. Now you're no longer stuck working on applications that are made for desktop use, you can use it. It's similar solutions for your iPhone or your smartphone or your Android phone or your iPad. There's a lot of apps that I use that are, that have cross-platform. What that means is there's a desktop app or a laptop app and a smartphone app. One such app, and Rich loves it, is Evernote. You take notes on your phone or your iPad, and then they sync up with your computer. That's amazing.
We might be teaching a class on that later, actually.
Yes, so if you love Evernote, and our listeners as well, we're not forgetting about you. Evernote's coming up. I think it's on the calendar. If not, it will be on the calendar. We've had a lot of requests for Evernote.
How's that different from the notes?
Okay, well, that's a good question. So the Notes app that comes on the iPhone, and we'll go over this deeper, and the iPhone and the iPad and the Mac it's a good note-taking app, but it's very basic. You do notes, and that's all it is. Evernote does a million other things. And that's kind of one of the cons that you could argue against Evernote, is that it does way too much. It's really like 15, 20 apps in one, would you say?
Yeah. It's like driving a Ferrari and driving a go-kart.
Yeah.
So
That's
not
a great...
Not everybody needs a Ferrari.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have.
Yeah, so we'll go over, and we have clients that use Evernote and the regular notes, for different purposes, and we'll go over that in the Evernote class. So that's a great question. So the next slide we've got here is, I mentioned earlier, we're going to go into a brief history of computers. This is a good chance to take a break if anybody needs a potty break or anything like that. Are we okay? All right, okay, in that case, we'll move on. Now, I could go on for days about the history of computers. I graduated from UT Computer Science, so I loved this kind of stuff. And we can go on for days on all the dates, all the releases, all that good stuff. But I chose about 5 pretty substantial things that have changed computing one way or another. So in 1822 there, a gentleman named Charles Babbage, he created the very first mechanical computer. So before, like I said, a computer was a real person who actually wrote it out or did use some type of tool to calculate math or arithmetic or some algorithms. In 1822, we had our first one that actually calculated math. I forgot exactly what it did. It might have just added, but it was a big news because now you don't have to do that. But that kind of really, that wasn't the first real computer as we know it with memory and power and all that good stuff. But it was something that computed things without someone actually having to do it. That's pretty amazing. In 1946, the ENIAC, which I'm sure some of our folks here would know about or have heard about, the electronic numerical integrator and computer. This thing had vacuum tubes and all the works. This was a big deal in 1946. And then 1964 was a big year as well. So like I mentioned earlier in our class, about 50, 60 years ago, computing was primarily for researchers and scientists and things like that. In 1964, IBM released the very first word processor. So all of a sudden, the paradigm has shifted. Computers are no longer just for the super duper researchy smart people, right? It's now general purpose. You can sit down and write a letter on your computer, and they introduced what's called a graphical user interface in 1964. What that means is you move, like this right here, I can move my mouse, I can move the computer. That's what's called graphical user interface. You might have worked in DOS before or in something that's command line based. That's not graphical user interface. That's just command line. But 1964 was a pretty big year. And then 1981, the first personal computer is born. So the PC, as we know it now, is personal computer. The word personal computer was coined by IBM when they released the IBM 5150. Good trivia question, by the way, if you all do trivia. That one gets asked quite often. So 1981 was IBM, not Apple, by the way, not Apple. But the very first computer was released, personal computer was released for home use and business use. But the PC is born. Nowadays, the term personal computer is no longer an IBM thing. It can refer to a Mac. It's anything that's yours. It's personal. So it's not a trademark or anything like that. But in general, though, people associate PCs versus Mac. But in reality, PCs can also include Macs. And then, of course, I put the iPad here because that was a big shift. Because now computing, people who do their work emails, their calendars, all that good stuff, they can do it from their smartphones and their tablets and their iPads. They don't need to have a computer around. That was 2010. The iPhone was released a few years before that, and Android was around, before that as well. But the iPad took the world by storm. It's such a big, big change in the mobile computing world. And so a lot of businesses don't even use computers. They do everything using the cloud and their iPads and tablets and smartphones. And that's not a bad solution. You're cutting down costs, that sort of thing. That's kind of the brief history of the computer, how it all began, and where we are now is, there's other things that I can go into, Murphy's Law and all that good stuff. But that's for another day, so we're going to move on to the next slide here. One question we get asked quite often from our clients is, should I get a PC or should I get a Mac? Which one is right for me? Our response, and it may not be the most correct response, but it seems to work for us, is what do you use? How do you use the computer? What goals do you want to accomplish? Those are the questions that we ask our clients before we label them. Oh, you're a Mac user. Oh, you're a Windows user. We don't like throwing labels out. We'd like to figure out what you need and how we can help you achieve those goals. Here's kind of sort of a difference here. So PC came out in 1981, IBM, and since then Windows has been known as the PC, so Windows-based operating systems. The Mac, on the other side, came out in 1984 as the first Apple Macintosh. Now, Apple had other computers before the Mac, but the Mac really is what took on and became what you know it today. Sort of what you know it today. And it supports what's called Mac OS, and that's the Mac operating system. Okay? Multiple manufacturers for PCs. You've got Asus, Lenovo, IBM, which is Lenovo. You've got Dell, HP, all these guys. Only Apple gets to make their hardware. So, some people like that. I have no real preference, to be honest with you. As long as my products are being supported properly, I don't care who makes it. Part of it too is, if they're doing moral things properly, like child labor laws and environmentally friendly. Now, all the technology is, that's another topic, I think. But one thing about technology is the side effects that we don't think about. And so it's kind of a sad topic to discuss. But that's another thing we can talk about another day. But all these companies are hopefully striving towards the right thing more and more. Yes, sir.
Tony, what I have found, like in the working world, people use Windows. I mean, the companies I work for use Windows. Maybe I'm under a wrong impression here. The schools were pushing, like the public schools, what have you, grades going through, whatever. They were using PCs. Have you found this to be true?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a great point. Now, that's changed, so I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, no, when I went to school, it was all PC. We never saw Macs. I never saw a Mac, like an actual Mac in person, and I touched it until I was in high school. And even then, we didn't really use those. We used primarily PCs. Yeah, and that's because Microsoft did such a good job of the market share of having their apps be integral to the business. Think Microsoft Office. Who doesn't use Word or PowerPoint or Excel? Those terms didn't exist until Microsoft coined them. PowerPoint is synonymous for any presentation. This is using Keynote, which is an Apple product, but some people might call it a PowerPoint just because it's synonymous to those things. So Microsoft did a great job. Now, what's changed in the maybe last 5 years, 6 years? Apple has come back and taken the world by storm with their Mac products. Public schools in Knoxville, they're actually doing MacBooks for their students now. Not every Knox County school, but West Valley, I think Bearden, they're getting MacBook Pros.
Yeah, Bearden High School bought, I think, like 613-inch MacBook Pros about a year ago,
Yep.
To give out to all their students.
Exactly. So Apple has started to take the public sector and the school sector by. They're starting to get a foothold. And not only that, but if you walk into a college classroom these days, I would bet I would bet money that you're going to see more Macs than you will PCs. And there's different reasons for that. Apple has done a good job. Microsoft may have dropped the ball. I don't know. But there are various factors that have caused that little switch. But you're right. For the longest time, Microsoft and the PCs were the king. But now I think it's changed quite a bit.
So the Office programs with Mac are
Yeah, so
taking OPM.
yep. So Microsoft they were smart enough to realize that okay, we better create applications for Apple products. Now they probably didn't think that Apple was going to take over. Back when they started this, because Microsoft Office for Mac, they had a 2004 version. They may have had one earlier, but they had a 2004, a 2008, and a 2011 version. And now they actually have an iPad version. Yeah. So, and they might have missed the boat on that one. That they probably should have released one 2 years ago, but that's okay. That's another talk. Yep. So as far as operating systems, we've kind of touched on that. Windows runs on PCs, and then of course OS X runs on the Macs. And the latest version is OS X Mavericks, which is 10.9, and I think the latest update is 10.9.4. And then the next one that's going to come out is Yosemite. And Apple has changed their naming convention for their topics. Now, one operating system, that's a whole other class as well that I haven't even talked about, is GNU Linux, which is what I use, which is what I love and I'm very passionate about. But it can technically run on all of these, PCs and Macs. It also runs on things like your TVs, your microwave, your router. Linux is awesome. So
Who makes that?
Linux is an open source. A gentleman named Linus Torvalds. I think he's either Norwegian or Finnish, but he's also American. He was a student at I think MIT, at one of the big technical schools, and he was doing some research, and he decided that he's going to make his own free operating system. So he wrote some code, made it happen, and then now it's reached over I think 17 million lines of code, if not more. In the most recent release, it's a lot of lines of code, so yes, but it's free. And right now it's maintained by Linus Torvalds himself, but there's thousands of contributors to the operating system. And there's been different flavors. What I mean by flavors is different looks, different feel, different packages, different apps. But you don't hear about it very often because it's primarily using things that you use every day, but you don't think that it's a computer. Like your router at home. It's probably running Linux. Your modem probably running Linux. Your TV, like I said, microwave, coffee maker, those sorts of things. And of course your personal computer as well. And now the last two items here usually kind of sway our clients one way or another is the support, right? So with the support, if you order a Dell, you don't get support from Microsoft so much as you get support through Dell. Because Dell is what's called an OEM, and that means Microsoft releases the support obligation to Dell or HP or whoever is making the computer. Apple, you get your primary support straight through Apple. They sell their support package, usually called Apple Care. They even do training one-to-one. So that's a nice feature that Apple has that Microsoft doesn't have. And that helps people decide. Now what we tell our clients is we don't care who makes it, we're going to help you out anyways. So that's what's kind of nice about working with us is we don't care what device you have. We're going to become experts at it. We aren't already. We're going to help you do it. And the last thing is the budget. You traditionally think Macs are more expensive, and they really are. You do pay a premium to have an Apple product. But on the flip side, PCs can get very expensive as well. So it just depends on what you need and what you need to accomplish. The cheapest Mac right now from the Apple Store, I checked this morning, is $599. It's the Mac Mini. And we have one right there. Rich, want to lift it up? There it is. The Mac Mini. It looks like that. It's all in one. And you hook it up to a monitor to have a picture, and then a keyboard and a mouse. That's a Mac Mini. It's $599. The cheapest Mac laptop is the MacBook Air 11-inch. It's $899. Then it goes up from there. If you're talking those ballparks, if you look at the PC equivalent, you might save $50 or $100. It's really not that much for the most part. There are instances where you can get a really good deal on a Windows-based computer than you would on a Mac. But the reason why the Mac has gotten this, reputation of being higher price is, one, they are higher price, but you do get pretty good product for what you're paying for. You do get what you pay for the most part. And if you were to look at equivalent PC options, you might save a little bit, but a part of that is there are a lot more cheap PC options. You can get a Windows laptop for like $100, $200, that sort of thing. You can't do that for a Mac. And that's why Apple has gotten this reputation of saying, or people saying that they have very expensive products. So, any questions about PC versus Mac, or? Okay, we've had this conversation with a lot of our clients, and even some of our clients here probably. We've got just a couple more slides. We're right on time. So right now I'm going to take the opportunity to go over computer components. What this is basically, there's not a whole lot to it. There's a lot to a computer, but for our day-to-day functions, there's not too much that you need to know about as far as how to turn it on and that sort of thing. So you've got your power buttons. Most computers have one power button. Some computers have a power button and a reset button. Okay, and because our clients have so many different and diverse devices, I can't go up here and show you every one of our devices. But there's that. Every computer's gonna have a power cord, right? Rich, if you'll grab me a power cord, please. I think there's one on the. That will work.
Most of the power cord.
Yeah. So this is the Apple's the MagSafe charger extender cord. It hooks up to the charger, and some of our clients are surprised when they see this, and they didn't know what this was for, because every time you buy a MacBook, you get one of these, and you get the regular charger. This thing gives you an extra, I guess this is about 5 feet maybe, about 5 feet, 6 feet of extra extension, and so that's kind of nice. So there's that. And you have your regular, this is a pretty standard laptop charger. The ends, they're all different. They just depend on the manufacturer and the model. That's it's unfortunate. There's not a lot of compatibility. And even with Apple, there's less variability. There's only been 2-3 generations of MagSafe. Yeah, two, that's right. We're up to the MagSafe 2. So, relatively less variability than, you say, a Toshiba or a Lenovo or somebody like that, where you get, all sorts of chargers. What that means is I can use this charger for my next laptop if I wanted to, if I got another Apple, And the other thing is the monitor. So the monitor and the computer are two separate things. So that helps to distinguish. So a monitor, if you look over there, Rich is going to lift one up, that black thing right there. Yep. So that's a monitor. By itself, it doesn't do anything. It's just a screen, and that's what makes it a monitor. And so if we're doing phone support or we're asking questions, things like that, when we ask our client, is your computer turned on? A lot of times the confusion is they're thinking the monitor because the monitor's black, right? But the computer might be up and running. So it's nice to know what the monitor is versus the computer. And then, of course, you've got your ports on the computer. Some ports, I'm just going to throw out some names. Some ports are USB. You've heard of USB. There's your Ethernet port, also known as your gigabit port, and that's for your internet. You've got your audio cable, audio jack for your speakers and headphones. And then, of course, you've got other ports like the serial port. That's an old one that you don't really use anymore. It's the one it had a pink lining to it, and it's like this long, and it's used for printers back in the day. And they still use that sometimes, but not very often. So those are just kind of some names of ports that you might get thrown out. Some newer ones, DisplayPort is sort of new. Mini DisplayPort. Those are DisplayPort and Mini DisplayPort. They're not. Apple uses those ports, but they're not made by Apple. They're just standards for ports, and they're used for putting video through to a monitor or a projector. The newest port that people have been getting around is called the Thunderbolt port, and that is awesome. It allows super speeds up to, I think, 20 gigabits per second now. I might be wrong. It might be 10 still, but I think the newest one's supposed to be 20. If Rich could do some research real quick. Yeah, I think it's 20 gigabits per second both ways. What that really means is you have something here that you want to transfer to your computer, and maybe something you go back. It's 20 gigabits in both directions. That's awesome. That's kind of having like a 20-lane highway on both sides. So 20 west and 20 east. USB 3.0 right now is 5 gigabits per second, but it's shared up and down. So it's kind of like having a 5-lane road where one is shared. They're all technically shared. So that's a bunch of lingo that next week we're going to go over. We have tech speak next week, by the way, for our listeners as well. We have Rich is going to help us go over some technology jargon and lingo that gets tossed around that no one really knows what they mean. And then the last option there, you've got mouse and keyboard. And including with that, I'm going to include other peripherals, like this microphone that I'm using to record my voice. I've got that connected to my USB port, right? And so the sound goes in there, and then it goes through this cord into my computer. Other things that I would hook up to my computer is my phone. I would use it to back up my pictures, that sort of thing, or move pictures from my computer to my phone. So those are all peripherals that you should consider. And then we just got one more slide here. So this is kind of a recap of what can computers do, right? These are just some broad topics here. So digital printing, that's kind of cool. These days I could print a door or a sign for my door and have it shipped to me by tomorrow. Or if I wanted to, I can buy a printer and do it myself. It's awesome. Presentation design, this right here was designed on a computer, delivered using a computer. Photography retouching, that's an awesome class that we're going to go over. I think that's in November or December, and it's photo management and modification on the PC and Windows and on the Mac OS X. And then you have online marketing, Google, Facebook, all that cool stuff. Business applications, all of our payroll, accounting, client notes. Every time we work with one of our clients, we log that note so that next time you work with a nerd, if I'm not around or if Rich is not around or vice versa, we know everything there's to know about what we need to do for you. Now, of course, we have music, video, and multimedia as well. So these are some broad topics of what a computer can really do. Any questions about that? Do you have any other things else that you want to throw at us? Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one here. All right, so if you want to just write these down, of course, you get these when I send you an email as well, but these are our social media links. This is, you can find us on Twitter, it's InNerdToKnox. Find us on Facebook, it's Neighbor Nerd, and then find us on Google, it's +Schnerd. So that's a cool trick that we're going to get into. We have a social media class that we're going to go over, but the +Schnerd is actually really cool. You can go to, in an address box in Safari or Firefox or Google Chrome and type in google.com/+Schnerd. It'll take you to our page. It's actually pretty cool. So there's that, and I think we're on to the very last slide. Yep, that's all, folks. And we're right on time. It's 10:56 Eastern Time right now, so we made it right on time. We have a few more minutes for questions and answers. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Okay. Well, on behalf of Neighborhood Nerds, we appreciate you all coming out. And if there's anything on here that you wanted to revisit, feel free to go to our website, innerd.com/tech-talks, and you'll get this video. Or you go to google.com/+Schnerd, and you'll get there as well. And all of our clients get nerd alerts, as you are familiar, and I have links to all these things at nerd alerts. So if you didn't catch that, that's no big deal. We'll send out an email with all this information. So, all right. If that's it, then we're going to go ahead and wrap up then. Thank you for coming today.
So what's your next class on?
Let me bring that up on our website, and we'll take a look and see. I'll go ahead and bring up the calendar for... Okay, can we see that okay? All right, so there's our website, just for our viewers, because you can still see this on the live broadcast here. All you got to do is go to our website, and you can get there via shnerd.com, which is short for Sequoia Hills Nerd.com. That's always been a mystery for some people. Or you can get there via innerd.com, which is short for neighborhoodnerd.com. So either way is fine. So you can click on calendar right here. There's Gizmo saying hi. And here's our classes for the and this box over here scrolls. You see that? It's kind of to sleep. And it might, but there's a lot more options if you keep scrolling down. But we have the calendar. If you wanted a particular day in red, you just got to click on that. So the next class that we've got going on is next Saturday, or this upcoming Saturday. It's a repeat of this class. Some of our clients had to work this morning, so they couldn't come join us, but they'll join us on Saturday. And the very next week, well, we have two different topics next week. Primarily one for Tech Speak. A lot of our clients are excited about that. And Rich is going to be hosting that. He will also be hosting, and we'll be kind of double teaming this one, is the everything we know about the iPhone 6. There's supposed to be an event next Tuesday, September 9th, that Apple is, keeping under wraps, sort of under wraps. Everybody pretty much knows what's happening, I think, at this point. But we're going to watch that video. We're going to watch that presentation, and we are going to take notes, and we're going to give those notes, a recap of those notes on the Wednesday. So check it out. You'll get links to all of this on our website from the Nerd Alerts email that I sent. Leo's here. Morning, Leo. All right. So Anna, did that answer your question? Yes. And by the way, for all of these events, you all registered. I appreciate that. That helps us really a lot to kind of maintain and make sure everybody has seating and proper, breathing room for everybody to be comfortable. But all you gotta do is click on the link and then hit register now, and then take you to the place where you can put your name and your email. And I think everybody here did that, so we're good to go. All right. Well, that's it. We're going to go ahead and stop the broadcast. Thank you for coming, everybody. Hope you have a great Tuesday. All right, on behalf of Neighborhood Nerds, this is Tommy. We are signing out. Thank you.